Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm your host, Amanda Lamb. In today's conversation with WRAL's Five on Your Side reporter, Keely Arthur, we're talking about a very hot topic, artificial intelligence, also known as AI. You know, it's too late to put the genie back in the bottle. It is here to stay. AI can write papers, solve complex equations, and answer test or homework questions in seconds. So how do we allow students to use these tools responsibly for better understanding, but keep them from using AI to complete their schoolwork? This is the million-dollar question. Keely, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, for anyone who might not be familiar with this, can you explain how an AI site or app works, like ChatGPT? I think that's the one a lot of people know about. And I have to admit, as a writer, I'm a little afraid of this because this is what I do for a living. So hearing that, a computer can write what I do, it's a little scary.
Yeah, it can and it can't. And I would encourage anyone who doesn't have a personal familiarity with ChatGPT to go on and use it. I think of it like Google on steroids. So if you're going to Google, hey, can you explain, I use the example of the Civil War. You Google Civil War. But with ChatGPT, you can type in, explain the Civil War at a PhD level, explain the Civil War at a fifth grade level, write me a paper about the Civil War.
That's
and it can do all of that for you.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but it's pretty amazing.
That's pretty amazing. So your team investigated the question of, should students have access to this? How much access should they have? What did you learn about how different school districts in our area are dealing with this?
Well, as fast as the technology has changed a lot of things in our world, the schools are changing their policies. So this technology came out, it was unleashed in fall of 2022. We saw school districts in New York, Australia, I believe Sweden, ban it immediately because you can type in, write a paper about the Civil War. I mean, you would think right away that you can use that for cheating. But we've seen school districts like Chapel Hill, Carrboro City within our viewing area go from banning it last year to this year, it's totally allowed for high school students because their thinking is this is the way the world is going to be now. We need to empower our students to be able to use this properly.
Yeah, and so it sounds like it's an evolving thing. In other words, like you said, at first everybody was afraid of it, and now maybe school districts are changing their thinking.
Yeah, and we asked every school district in our viewing area if they had a policy, what the policy was, and schools like Wake County, Chapel Hill, Carrboro City, which I just mentioned, and some others have embraced it. They're going to use it within their classrooms. They've had their teachers do seminars on how to use it properly. There are other districts that have banned it. Sampson, Orange County schools, you cannot if you try to get into ChatGPT within the school system, you cannot. And then there's a lot of school districts that, like Granville, for example, are excited about the technology, but just have not figured out exactly how to implement it. And when we interviewed the Chapel Hill, Carrboro City, a school that banned it, now is embracing it. They said, look, come to us in 6 months. We might have a totally different policy.
Right. It's evolving. Okay, well, we will be right back after the break. Welcome back to the WRAL Daily Download. So I understand there are now AI detection tools that can show teachers whether students have written something themselves or used an AI tool, but they're not all completely reliable. Tell me what you guys found in your research.
Yeah, so I was trying to prove this point. So basically, if you say, again, going back to the write a paper about the Civil War example, you can put it in ChatGPT. It'll produce a paper for you. And then there are these detection websites called Zero ChatGPT. There are some other ones where you can copy and paste something that you would suspect is written by AI, and it will tell you how much is written by AI. But they are not very reliable at all. I use some of my old web copies for old news stories that I wrote years ago, and sometimes it said, oh, this was written by AI, which it absolutely wasn't AI.
It's written by you.
It was written by me, and it did not exist at the time. But I think, though, the thing that really drives this home is we did an experiment where we took the Declaration of Independence and we put it through these different websites, and in every situation, it came up saying that some of it was written by AI, which of course
obviously is not the case.
And so that's an issue for schools kind of grappling with not only using it, but worrying about the plagiarism uses of this technology.
Yeah, and I mean, I taught a course in journalism at the college level this past spring, and I know a lot of people said to me, "Are you using AI detection tools?" And I said, "No." But, what I tried to do was understand what the student's voice was. And if I felt like something was not written in their voice, I would add a note to the document saying, hey, this doesn't sound like you, or could you maybe make it more conversational? So it is kind of scary. Are there consequences in these school districts if they find out students are really just cheating, using AI to write something that's an assignment?
Well, all school districts have policies on cheating in general, right? So a lot of schools are reverting back to those. If a student is found to be using anything that isn't their original voice and they're just copy and pasting something in, they are going to suffer consequences. Sampson County, for example, schools said that if their students are found to be using AI to cheat, that it could be up to, I think, maybe like a 2.5-week suspension. But again, I mean, I think that schools need to be really careful here because it's hard to prove.
That's
and
what I was
that's
going to
why
say, yeah.
Having conversations with your students, it's not a black and white thing. Hey, if you're going to use it, source it, kind of thing.
And that makes sense. I mean, obviously, students source things all the time. They source articles, they source, television content, they source books. But as long as they're sourcing it, I mean, what are educators saying could be the benefits of this?
There's a lot of benefits. I mean, it's a new way to reach students. If you're, as a parent or an educator, you're having a hard time explaining a certain topic, you can type that into ChatGPT and it can help explain it. And it also can cut down on things that, think about a calculator. You can use it and it can solve a more complex division issue
quickly.
Or problem very fast. And that's how schools that are using it are going to try to teach their students how to use it, to cut down on things so that way they can focus on other things, more complex things that only humans can do.
Exactly. So what do you think these policies will do? I mean, do you think they will continue to evolve as this technology evolves and we learn more about it?
We interviewed a person who handles e-learning and instructional design at Wake Tech, and she said that schools are going to have to evolve here. I asked, is this going to, hurt the learning process? And she said, in a really negative light, yeah, it could, but schools are going to have to adapt to this. It's out there, and even if it's blocked on the school servers, every kid, for the most part, has, especially after the pandemic, access to a tablet or a digital device at their home. So you can use it there as well. So I think that...
So even if the school blocks it, you have access.
You have access to it. And I think it's like with anything, it's out there, and students are a lot of times savvier with tech than adults are. So schools are going to have to keep up with that and figure out a way to implement it. I think, and if we're talking a year from now, I think you're going to find a lot more districts have much more solidified policies on
specific
this.
policies. Yeah. And I mean, let's face it, writing is not something everyone's good at, and it's not something everyone wants to do.
Yeah. And this, you could be a fabulous writer, but struggle with grammar. And this can help you figure out where exactly to put the comma or to add an extra sentence so it's not a run-on sentence. So it can be used as a tool to brush up your writing.
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you so much. This is fascinating, and you've inspired me to maybe go check it out a little.
You should.
I haven't done it yet, but I think it's probably time. So I appreciate your giving us insight into this, Keely. And if you are listening to this podcast on WRAL.com or the WRAL app, you can also find it on any podcast app: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast. Pretty much anywhere podcasts live, you'll find more episodes of the WRAL Daily Download. As always, thanks for listening.